All right. So let me backtrack to what I just said. You should have another tab open with HMH. And my question was on page 52, which is the subsection of Gutman's great idea. What was the text structure of that? How did the author set it up? There's only two text structures we've really talked about this year. If you know, feel free to throw it in the chat. How did the author set that up? We kind of talked about it yesterday. The text structures we've really talked about this year are cause and effect or sequential. How do you feel like that section was set up? Jacqueline, thank you for answering. I agree with you. So there was cause and effect in this subheading because it talked about, people had spinal cord injuries and had to do this. Right, Presley. People were dying, but then he gave them, prescribed them exercise, and then this happened, and they got better. And because people, then wheelchair sports were created. And because wheelchair sports were created, then the Paralympics were created. So there's definitely cause and effect for sure in that section. Thank you, Jacqueline and Presley, for answering. You could also make an argument that it is also sequential because it talks about how this happened. Then it gives a date in 1948, and then it gives another date, 1952, and then it gives another date, 1960. So you could also make it a sequential as well. So thank you for those two of you that answered. All right. Here it is. What led Marilyn to invent a new kind of wheelchair? Did she just one day walk off, saw someone in a wheelchair and was like, hey, let's make a new one? Why did Marilyn Hamilton create a new wheelchair? Why did she need to do that? If you know, put it in my chat. Why did she need to do that? Gage, she needed a wheelchair to be lighter, correct. So that's one reason, yes. She wanted to make a new wheelchair because her wheelchair was very heavy and ugly and she got blisters on her hand. Perfect. Those are all three of you are right, Gage, Presley, and Landon. Thank you for answering. So Marilyn broke her back in that hang gliding crash and she couldn't walk. She wanted to play wheelchair tennis, but her chair was heavy and it was difficult to move. And because of that, she persuaded her friends to create a new wheelchair that was lighter, easier to move. Great answers, guys. All right. How was what Dr. Gutman prescribing to his patients different from what was done in the past? So what was done in the past and what was he prescribing for his patients to do? What was done in the past, but what was he saying? Nope, do this instead. Exercise. Yep. So in the past, people just laid in bed and did nothing until they kind of passed away. Their body just, couldn't take it anymore. But he prescribed them exercise and movement. And then they got better. They were able to go home and live happy lives. So go Dr. Gutman. And he's also kind of the reason that the Paralympics were invented. So perfect. Good answers, guys. Throwing a medicine ball. Yes, that was one of the specific workouts. And now, tell me what special features the Quickie wheelchair has. What makes a sport wheelchair better than a traditional wheelchair? There's like 3 things I'm looking for. If you can only think of one, that's okay. But what are these special features that make this wheelchair better than normal traditional wheelchairs? The wheels are slanted. Correct, Abby. They're the Cambridge wheels. So instead of parallel like this, they're like this. So it's harder to tip over. Jacqueline, correct. You're lighter. The wheelchair is lighter, so it can go faster. And then they also are sitting lower to the ground, which also makes a lower tipping point. So you guys are definitely right on the money. Good job. I'm glad you guys all remember all of these. feel like those were the main questions I wanted to go over. Remember, we learned about wheelchair sports specifically, how wheelchair sport athletes are, even though they're in a wheelchair, they are just as tough and they have a great level of fitness and skill, even though they're in a wheelchair. We also learned that the sports are adapted to work with wheelchairs because not all rules for basketball work for wheelchair basketball, so some rules can be adapted, okay? I'm going to, in 1 second, share my screen, and we're going to go over the quiz questions really quick. And then you are going to take the 5-question quiz after you reread the story. I want you to go through the story again, make sure you are good to go before you take it. Also, you are allowed to use the story as you are taking your quiz. Your story is your resource. I want you to go back and forth between your quiz and the story. So just have 2 tabs open. I'm going to share my screen in 1 second. Reset now. There's only 5 questions, so it is not. Mark, yes, we have a grammar. Not that this has anything to do with that, but Mark, we do have grammar this afternoon at like 1:15. My class is having grammar. As soon as my screen gets to sharing, we will go over these 5 questions. And remember, this lovely website tells me exactly how long it took you on this quiz. So if it took you 1 minute and you didn't do too good, I'm going to know that. Be sure to take your time. Well, then that's different. Okay, so question 1. What made Hamilton invent the quickie wheelchair? We literally just went over this. Everyone should be getting number 1 correct. Number 2, this is something we talked about yesterday. We didn't necessarily talk about it today. After Hamilton's hang gliding accident, she felt imprisoned in her wheelchair. What does the word imprison mean as it's used here? Does it mean she's weak, injured, trapped, or stationary? What does that mean? The next one, what evidence from the passage best supports the idea that the quickie wheelchair is beneficial to athletes? This is another thing we just talked about. How do we know that the quickie wheelchair is better for athletes than just a regular wheelchair? Number 4, according to the passage, what was one result of Dr. Ludwig Gutmann's orders for soldiers with spinal cord injuries to play sports in hospitals? So what happened because he said, hey guys, play some sports? What happened because of that? And then the last one is just a summary. If someone was like, hey, what's this story about? Which one's the best one to describe that? Okay? So that is what you are going to do. You are going to reread your story and then you are going to take your quiz. Once you are done with your quiz, you need to be working on your writing prompt if your writing prompt is not finished, because your writing prompt is due tomorrow at 2:35. If you are finished with your writing prompt and it has already been turned in, then you may silently read for AR for the rest of reading class, okay? Rainier, I'm not your grammar teacher, so I don't know what you're doing for grammar. Mark was asking for my class. Mrs. Siddig teaches you grammar, Rainier. So you would have to ask her. The code word today is motion for the ocean. Ocean. It's just ocean. So good luck with your quiz. If you have a question, feel free to ask me. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to help. Reread your story, take your quiz, code word, do your writing prompt if it's not done, and then read for AR. Bye. Have a great day. Bless you.